Welcome back to Wall Again, where passion meets music, and we're all set for another needle drop session. This is going to be our top albums of the 1960s, so I think we'll go five each. So if you want to kick off with number five there, Bobo.
Right. Well, the first thing I did was I ignored the Stones and the Beatles because that's too easy. So I'm going to go with Abraxas by Santana. You can see it there. I
Yeah,
think this is Santana's that original band's best album, and it has a song on it that I love called "Hope You're Feeling Better." And I'm not sure if it's Carlos Santana or Neil Scott playing a guitar solo, but it's an outstanding guitar solo. The whole album is brilliant. And those first three Santana albums, it could have been any of them, but this is the one I love the best, so I went with that. And I think Santana the band, as opposed to Santana the man, is a different cup of tea, and I love it.
yeah.
I mean, I know a couple of them went on to form Journey, but we won't hold that against them.
No, that's right. Greg Raleigh and Neil Sean went on to join Journey after they left Santana. But that album is amazing, and for anyone who's not familiar, it's total like Latin jazz rock fusion. It's unbelievable. It's brilliant.
Yeah,
Very.
I think the drummer's about 19 as well, and he's out of this world. He's that good.
Yeah. It's a great pick. I don't actually own it. If I did, it probably would be in my top five. But I tried to stick to stuff that I own. And I tried to keep it to five different bands. But that's a great one to kick us off. So coming in at number five for me, let's just get out of the way. I'm a huge Beatles fan, so there had to be at least one Beatles album here. I spent the whole week deliberating between what album it should be, and I went over and back and over again, and I've landed on Abbey Road from 1969, the last recording in the studio of the Beatles before they broke up. I think they announced they were broken up shortly after this album was released, and then of course Let It Be got released after that. But this was the last one they recorded in the studio because Let It Be was recorded before this one was recorded. But for me, listening through the Beatles albums, like Sergeant Pepper's is a great album, but it's a little bit patchy. The White Album, just so much material in there. Again, it just some of it there is a little patchy. But I think this one, like, it's got come together, starting off like that John Lennon classic, with that great bass riff in it, and something from George Harrison, and then you've got like some stuff from Paul McCartney, which is okay, but then you've got Octopus's Garden, Ringo Starr singing that one, so they're all getting the limelight here. You got Here Comes the Sun with again George Harrison coming to the fore on that one. I Want You, She's So Heavy, which is one of the heaviest songs the Beatles ever recorded, and then you've got the medley of Me, Mr. Mustard, Pauline's Pam, She Came In Through the Bathroom Window, and Gold Slumbers. I just think it's a fantastic album, one of the best albums of all time, and yeah, I think it deserves to be in here in the top five 60s albums.
Yeah, I would absolutely agree. It's my favorite Beatles album by a wide mile, and that Golden Slumbers section is great. And anyone that says Ringo can't play, just listen to his drumming, and that is just unbelievable.
Agreed, agreed. Yeah,
Right.
great album. Right, what's your next pick?
The full title of this is Mama, I Got Those Cosmic Blues Again. It's Janis Joplin's first solo album after she
Wow.
split with Big Brother. I love this album. She brings in a brass section. She covers songs by the Bee Gees and some of her own songs. And uh, there's one track on a Troy when the brass kicks in, it just lifts me every time I hear it. It's a brilliant album, and it's Janis Joplin at the absolute peak of her fame. She'd killed Monterey, she'd killed Woodstock. I think after this she does the Isle of Wight, and then the release Pearl after she passed away. But this album is just raw soul, rock and roll mixed, and her vocals are outstanding in it. And I can't really fault this album. I haven't listened to it in a while. I'm going to put it on later on tonight, actually, because I love it so much.
Brilliant.
And I'm still waiting to hear the new Janis Joplin. I hear it a lot, but I've never heard anyone that could sing like her.
Yeah, very very unique voice, no doubt about it. I'm actually not familiar with that album. I'm not very familiar with Janis Joplin's stuff at all, to be honest. And it's something I really need to get into. Wasn't she part of the whole 27 club?
Yeah, herself. So the Isle of Wight Festival, herself, Otis Redding, and Jim Morrison played it.
Yeah.
And within, I think, 18 months, the three of them were dead. And
Unbelievable.
Hendrix as well.
Unbelievable, yeah. That's eerie stuff, isn't it? Yeah, so
Yeah,
I'll really have to go check her out. Great
bro,
stuff.
that album is brilliant.
Deadly. Okay, my next pick, and this is in no particular order. I just have five albums here. So my next pick, I'm a huge Eric Clapton fan, so I had to go with Disraeli Gears by Cream, released in 1967. Of course, it's got Eric Clapton on lead guitar and vocals. It's got Jack Bruce on bass and vocals, and Ginger Baker on drums. They were probably the first ever supergroup to come out of that whole scene in the 1960s. But they like this album is such a fusion of styles here. You know, you've got heavy rock, psychedelic, jazz rock, fusion, blues. It's all in here, and they were really paving the way in terms of music and the different genres and what could be accomplished in the studio. I think Tom Dowd and Felix Pappalardi should get great credit on this album for really pushing the boundaries in terms of the production and the engineering, and also like Atlantic Records. With Armid Ertegun at the helm, really pushing this band into the stratosphere. They brought them over to the States to record, and just I think Cream, a fantastic band from the 1960s, and I think sometimes because Eric Clapton's career is so big and so well known, sometimes they get overshadowed a little bit. I think by Clapton, his name is nearly bigger than the band. But I think Cream are fantastic, and I think this album is their standout album. It's got Strange Brew on it, which is brilliant. Of course, Sunshine of Your Love, one of the best rock songs of all time. What a fantastic riff and guitar solo. Tales of Brave Ulysses, a brilliant song. Swirlabra, We're Going Wrong, Outside Woman Blues, and then it's got another blues track, Take It Back. But I think it's absolutely brilliant. Knockout album, 10 out of 10, and I had to stick it in here for 1960s.
I heard a story that Eric Clapton went out and bought a wah pedal that morning, and then they recorded Tales of Brave Ulysses, and it's the first time he ever used it. Was on the recording. He didn't even try it out. He just plugged it in and went for it. And I think those anything by Cream is fantastic. And Sunshine of Your Love is the only song I ever learned to play in guitar. I don't
Really?
think I could play it now, but I just thought it was just a scale backwards. I went, oh, that's really clever.
Yeah, yeah, it's
And
class.
I
Class.
love Jack Bruce is my favorite member of Cream. I've bought a load of his solo albums, and there's actually a touring band. They played Drogheda, and I couldn't get tickets, called Sons of Cream.
That's right.
So
That's right.
it's Jack Bruce's son, Ginger Baker's son, and some other chap playing guitar, and they do. So that's the nearest we'll ever get to seeing them if they come.
Yeah, yeah, that's it. They
So
of
yeah, I
course
love Cream.
they reunited in 2005 and they did about 5 or 6 shows at the Royal Albert Hall. And yeah, look, it was grand. It was good for what it was. But I think this band, like when they were in their 20s and they were all fighting with each other and they had all those egos and all that tension in the 1960s in that period of about 2.5 years, and they produced all those albums. That was pinnacle Cream. When they came back and Eric Clapton's trying to play Cream on a Fender Stratocaster, for me, just didn't work.
No,
It was
no.
it was a bit country for me. But yeah, no,
I mean,
I
it's a bit
no,
of a side thing, but bands reforming can either go one way or the other,
yeah, big time.
and uh, I'm sure it was a nice retirement for them, but no. Okay, my next band, I couldn't pick between one or two albums, so I'm including two of them. So I'll do them in chronological order. One Half Brickin' by Fairport Convention. I don't know if you can see that in that light there.
Yeah, great.
Uh, this Sandy Denny's parents outside the garden and the bander. This album was my introduction to Fairport and the beautiful voice of Sandy Denny and Richard Thompson's great guitar playing and the rest of the members of the band. Uh, there's a song that is called A Sailor's Life that goes on for about 11 minutes. It's the only song I've ever heard with a guitar and violin battling each other and trading solos. It's unbelievable. The whole album's great, but for that track alone, yeah, and this was the first album after they had a crash. Their van crashed, and their drummer was killed, and their tailor was killed, who was actually Richard Thompson's girlfriend. And so they didn't even know if they were going to get back together. So this album was a real celebration. And yeah, it's fantastic. And it's a really smart thing to have a drummer who's not a folk player play with them. He had to figure his way out and into the band. And I mean, they all kind of went off and did different things. Their bass player went off and formed an even more folk band called Steel Eyes Band. And then he formed a Morris dance band. And he just went straight into folk. Richard Thompson went off and did great things, and Sandy Denny went off. But yeah, this album is great.
Class. I'm only familiar with
And
Sandy Denny from, the Battle of Evermore that she sings with
yeah,
Robert
that's where
Plant.
most people would know. But her voice is,
Led Zepp, yeah.
it's like no vibrato, because I hate singers that sing scales. She just picks a note and commits to it.
Yeah, yeah, she's a fantastic vocalist, no doubt about it. I must check that album out. Okay, my next pick, I had to pick a Led Zeppelin album. So there was only two albums released in the 1960s by Led Zeppelin. There was the first one and then Led Zeppelin 2. And they were both released in 1969, funny enough. So I could only pick one. So I'm going to go with Led Zeppelin 2. I just think this album is fantastic. It's where they really found their sound as a heavy rock band. There was less covers on this one. They wrote most of this while they were on the road in the US, and they recorded at various studios in the US. But it's of course it's got a whole lot of love on it, which is one of the most famous Led Zeppelin tracks of all time. What is and what should never be, brilliant song, absolutely fantastic. The Lemon song, one of the best takes on a 12-bar blues you'll ever hear, in my opinion. The bass playing from John Paul Jones on that one is phenomenal. Heartbreaker. Another great riff by Jimmy Page. And then in the middle of that, there's just like a break and he just takes it away on guitar, plays a fantastic guitar solo on his own with no backing instruments. And then the band kick back in. It's brilliant stuff altogether. Live and Love and Made, I'm not a big fan of. Ramble On, again, another brilliant song. We get the drum solo, Moby Dick, but they put a riff in at the start and the end. So the band get to play. So I think that's pretty cool. And then Bring It On Home, again, Robert Plant in fine form on this one. But yeah, it's a knockout album. It's absolutely fantastic. And again, we talked about Cream, expanding the genres and expanding what could be done in the studio and what was, acceptable as a rock record. And I think Led Zeppelin broke the mold on this one as well. All these guys were competing with each other and they were just, breaking down the doors and basically getting the whole world ready for what was, what we now know as like classic rock or hard rock, from the 1970s. So brilliant, yeah. Led Zepp too.
Yeah, I would say it's my favorite out of the first four albums of Zeppelin 2. Was just, and yeah, it's just a phenomenal. And normally, even drum solos, I just go, oh, skip that. But it's Bonham, so you have to sit through it. It's great. But the album's perfect. It's just perfection. Right. I have to go with another Fairport Convention album, Legion Leaf.
Cool.
The reason I would recommend this one second is it's pure folk music. They took all folk songs and they rocked them up. It was the equivalent of probably Led Zeppelin in the rock world. This in the folk world, it was the traditional folkers went mental. They said there's no way, but they influenced all the folk music that came after them, and it became normal. Like there's a song on this, Matty Groves, which is a very famous traditional song. Planks they have done it, the other band, but the lyrics, it could be a heavy metal lyric. There's murder and sexual escapades in it, and all sorts of stuff going on, and it's a bit more of a challenge and listen. And it took me a lot longer to get into it, but once it got its hooks in, I just became obsessed with English folk music after this. We know Irish folk music because we're brought up on it, but we never heard these songs. And it's just fantastic. And again, Richard Thompson, Sandy Denny, Dave Swarbrick, I think is the violin player. The three of them are on fire on this album, and it's fantastic. And I can't recommend it enough. But it's definitely a challenge and listen if you're not used to folk music.
Okay. Cool. I must put that on the Fairport list as well. Brilliant stuff. Okay, next one for me is Jimi Hendrix, and I've gone with Are You Experienced? Of course, all his studio albums were released in the 1960s. We have this one in 1967, and then we have Axis Bold as Love, I think is 1968, and then we have Electric Ladyland, I think was 68 as well. But anyway, I absolutely adore this album. I think it's brilliant. It was released as a single album, but with different tracks in the UK and different tracks in the US. This was the UK press and sleeve, the original sleeve. The US press and sleeve is like a yellow kind of bubble with Jimmy and the band in the front of it. Again, it's another iconic cover. But yeah, on this one here, Foxy Lady, Manic Depression, Red House, Can You See Me, Lover Confusion, Made Us Be Love, Fire, Remember, Are You Experienced, Hey Joe, Stone Free, Purple Haze, Wind Cries Mary, Highway Child. I haven't even named all the songs there, but like every single one of them is just like a hit. On CD, when they reissued this, it ended up being like 70 minutes long. So it's kind of like a double album now when you go to buy it on CD. But if you're a collector and you're into the Jimi Hendrix stuff, you can seek out the US or the UK. They've got repressings on vinyl, and then you'll get the track listing for each location back in the day, as it were. But yeah, I think it's a brilliant album. I think both track listings of the album are fantastic, and to me, it's Jimi Hendrix. It's his most concise and best album. When you consider like Electric Ladyland was like a big double album, sprawling album. So yeah, for me, that's the Jimi Hendrix album from the 1960s.
Yeah, I think it's fantastic as well because fame hadn't really kicked in. Nobody knew who he was. I remember reading an interview with John Anderson, actually, you being a Yes fan, and he said we were supporting this guy called Jimi Hendrix. We didn't know who he was. Went out into the marquee, and the front row was all of the Beatles, all of the Stones, all of the Who. And he said, "What's going on here?" And so, I mean, Mick Jagger was quoted in magazines at the time saying, "Don't talk to me, go and talk to Jimi Hendrix. That's what's happening right now." So everyone knew. Jeff Beck said the first time he seen him, he thought he'd go away and become a plumber or something, that
Yeah,
he'd never play again after seeing that. So for someone to come in like that and have such an instant impact, that doesn't happen anymore. It just, and I don't think it could happen.
no, no. I
Right,
think
my last one, the Stooges' first album. I had to go with this because this band, after Black Sabbath, the Stooges have had more impact on me than anyone. I mean, I don't know about you as a guitar player, but I Want to Be Your Dog. Every guitar player I ever met learned how to play that track. It's got 1969. It's got a really arty track actually called We Will Fall, but no fun, real cool time. And I've seen Iggy Pop this year and he played I Want to Be Your Dog, no fun, and real cool time. So, these are like 56 years old and he's still playing these tracks live. And I mean, look at them. That is the coolest looking band I've ever seen in my life. They
yeah,
look like they kill you.
yeah,
And I mean, Iggy's still doing it. So, I mean, you got to love him for that.
yeah. Great band, great band. I,
That's
I
my five.
never really got into them. I suppose like the whole punk thing that like they were massive pioneers in that whole movement, and I'm only kind of coming into punk in the last few years. To be honest, I was always more into the just the straight ahead classic rock or heavy rock or bluesy rock, but yeah, no, I must look out for that one because that album is so important in the formation of punk rock where when it went into the
Yeah.
1970s, like bands like the Clash and the Ramones, like they're citing Iggy Pop and the Stooges as their
Steve
godfather
Jones
in
said
a
he
way.
learned how to play guitar by just listening to the Stooges' second album, Funhouse, over and over again. I mean, they released three albums in their lifetime, and that's it. That's their statement.
Yeah,
And then they're gone. I
yeah,
know they reformed and made an album later on, but it's not the same thing.
definitely not the same. Very good. Okay, I tried to not pick two albums from any artist or band, so I tried to hold myself to that, and that's why this album has made it in. Okay, I have a stack of albums here, honorable mentions, so I'm going to go through them after. But it's Jeff Beck Truth. Okay, um, now this album was released in 1968, and it was kind of strange because Jeff Beck had left the Yardbirds. He wanted to do his own thing, and he cobbled together some fantastic session musicians, including what's his name, Ron Wood, who of course went on then to work with the Faces and with the Rolling Stones, obviously. But Ron Wood comes in here. He does a job on bass. They had, I think Ainsley Dunbar came in on drums for a couple of tracks on this one. Of course, he famously went on to play on a lot of the Whitesnake bluesy records from the 1970s. And then John Paul Jones makes an appearance here on a couple of tracks as well. Who else have we got? We also have the drummer for most of it here was Mick Waller. So yeah, it was just basically. Oh, sorry, Nicky Hopkins as well was on piano on a couple of tunes, but he got these and Rod Stewart on vocals, if I haven't said already. So it was just a collection of great musicians at the time. Got in the studio and they put this album together. Some of the songs were written by Rod Stewart with Jeff. Some of them were tailored or written by Jeff from ideas from other songs. There's a lot of covers in here. There's a version of Willie Dixon's is it You Shook Me? But yeah, like it's just a fantastic album. My favorite tracks on it are Shape of Things. I think that's fantastic. Let Me Love You is a brilliant tune. I actually saw Joe Bonamassa in Vicar Street about 10 years ago. He was doing a tribute to the British blues explosion, and he was playing exclusively songs by Beck, Clapton, and Page. And he played "Let Me Love You," and it blew the house down. It was unbelievable. I'd never heard that song before, and after I heard that, I just had to go look up. Right, is this Jeff Beck? Yeah, okay. What album is it on? Absolutely fantastic song. What else is on here? Beck's Bolero as well. Another brilliant song. Absolutely fantastic. And as well, like Joe Bonamassa back in that gig I was talking about, he actually opened with a version of Beck's Bolero and then goes into Rice Pudding, and it was just fantastic. Absolutely blew me away. But yeah, Jeff Beck. I think of between Clapton, Page, and Beck, Beck doesn't get the credit that the other two get because he didn't have Layla or Stairway to Heaven. Like, fair enough, he had that song Hi Ho Silver Lining, which he absolutely hated. And it was the one, the pop song that he was kind of remembered for. And it was Wolverhampton took it on in the UK as their football team, a football anthem. But that song didn't appear on this album. I have it on the CD version because they give you a lot of extra songs on to fill up the space. But I think as an album alone, this is a fantastic album. It's a little bit patchy, but I think it's a great starting point for Jeff Beck. And yeah, what he went on to do then in the 1970s was unbelievable, absolutely unbelievable. So that's my final
I
pick of the 60s.
I heard a great story Alice Cooper told when his band went to see Jeff Beck, and he was holding the guitar down near the body, like upwards, not with one hand, and was talking to someone and dropping the neck and playing triplets. And they were going, "That's impossible. How would he do it?" And he wasn't even looking. He was chatting to someone in the band doing it, and they went, "That's
Yeah.
impossible." And the other story I heard was the night before Woodstock, they were due to play, and he wanted to fire Ronnie Wood, and Rod Stewart said, "If you fire him, I'm going." He went, "Right." So they were supposed to play Woodstock, and because Jeff Beck is so contrary, he broke the band up.
Yeah, that will be
And I
right.
just
Yeah.
think he sabotaged the early part of his career, but he lasted so long that everyone respected him.
Yeah.
And there's great footage of him and Jimmy Page with Metallica actually playing
Yeah.
The Train Kept a Rolling at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. So
Yeah.
Jeff Beck, yeah, I love him.
Yeah. Phenomenal. One of
And
my favorite
there's
guitar
so much
players.
more to say about the 60s.
I know, I know. So have you got any honorable mentions there, Bobo?
Yeah, there was a few. I was going to do the MC5 again, but I thought, no, I already spoke about that. So that
Yeah.
came out in 69. I was going to do Blue Chair because I think that's the
Yeah.
equivalent of Black Sabbath in America.
Yeah.
I mean, they couldn't play like Black Sabbath, but uh, and there's loads. Steppenwolf, you know,
Steppenwolf. Yeah. Yeah.
any of the two Zeppelin albums. There's just so many that you could go on about, and you just have to kind of because you're limited to picking a few. Like I could have said anything from Peter Green's Fleetwood Mac Play On,
Oh yeah.
Ink Rose, any of those albums. I nearly picked actually the album that followed Blues Breakers with Eric Clapton, which is
Mm.
a hard road where
Yeah.
Peter Green was the guitarist and uh, what's the bass player from
John McVie.
yeah, John McPhee was the bass player, and I think Mickey Waller might have been the drummer on that album as well.
Mickey Waller. Yeah, he was on that Beck
So
album. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, we could go on all night with honorable mentions,
Oh, we
but
could.
just things that
Could.
pop into your head at the time.
Absolutely. I'll just
What
go
have you
through a
got?
couple of mine, right? So I have the Beano album, Blues Breakers, and Eric Clapton. I chose Disraeli Gears over this album. I think Disraeli Gears is just better album. It's a more of a rock album, and that's why I prefer it over this.
Yeah,
But I still love that album. We spoke about the double album Electric Ladyland by Jimi Hendrix. Of course, that could have easily been in there. Speaking about the Beatles, I've the White Album there, but I just thought Abbey Road was more concise. And then going back to 1965, I've Rubber Soul, which is a great album where the Beatles are starting to evolve their sound. But yeah, it just didn't make the cut. 1966 then, Revolver, again, another fantastic album, but just missed out. Sergeant Pepper's, yeah, I did give this a listen during the week, and I have to say, some of it is brilliant, but some of it leaves a lot to be desired. So, for a single album, I don't know. I think the cover is class, and the great songs that are on the album are fantastic, and the production and how they used the tracks to bounce everything down, that was like pioneering at the time. But yeah, I just don't think it's the strongest of Beatles albums. And then Led Zepp one, the first Led Zepp album.
actually, it just reminded me. I should have mentioned Beggar's Banquet and Let It
Yeah,
Bleed by the Stones are both great albums. And actually, since we're on albums, the Freewheeling Bob Dylan
yeah,
and Highway 61 Revisited are just phenomenal albums at the time.
yeah.
And I mean, we could go on and on.
But
And I
Blonde,
think
Blonde
the
on
great
Blonde
thing
as
about the
well, I think,
60s,
because Blonde on Blonde 67, 68.
yeah,
That
around
was
then.
that was late
I think the
60s.
thing about it was everyone was, and of course, how did I forget this? Pet Sounds
Pet Sounds, yeah,
by
absolutely.
the Beach Boys.
Beast
So
Boys, yeah.
all of these bands were influencing each other, and
Yeah,
you can
like the
go
King,
back and forth.
the Kinks and the Animals, we didn't mention them.
Yeah,
Um,
I think by the time you get to the 70s, bands are doing their own thing, and they're
yeah,
not being influenced by each other as much. But the 60s, the Beatles were influenced by the Beach Boys.
yeah,
Then that influences someone else, and that influenced someone else. I remember Ozzy Osbourne saying the first time he seen the Beatles in concert, it was like the world went from black and white to color, and I
yeah,
completely get that. And
absolutely.
he said, "What did he say?" He said, "You don't go to the Beatles to hear the music; you go to the Beatles to look at them." But by the time you get to the later 60s, when you're going to see Cream and bands like that, you're going to listen to the music.
Yeah,
He
yeah,
said the Beatles were like aliens.
yeah. Oh, they were, yeah, because at that time everyone had short hair. So even grow the
Yeah,
mop tops, that was a rebellion, you know. I know people look now and they look at the mop tops and they say it's very dated, it looks like a very 60s haircut. But in actual fact, it wasn't the norm, you know. They were the ones who introduced long hair and brought it into rock and roll. And before that was like Elvis
yeah.
was
I think
really, the rock star, but he was like very corporate and like not through his own fault. He was, sort of managed and manipulated. And yeah, it was all like film star looks and sing songs written by other people. It was a show, and the Beatles totally changed that. No, we're going to write our own songs and we're going to do our own thing, and that was what the doors
yeah, I
opened
think
for everyone.
the two major things I always feel in the 60s was the Beatles. So suddenly bands where everyone is a personality becomes a thing.
Mm,
But then when you get into the Blues Breakers thing, which is the first album that they had a Marshall amp and a Gibson Les Paul together,
that's right.
is that Blues Breakers album. So then you get this idea of the guitar god, and then we get the lead singer and the guitarist and that tension, and that's there in every great band,
Yeah.
being Mick Jagger and Keith Richards, Steven Tyler and Joe Perry, any great rock and roll band, it's the lead singer and the guitarist bumping heads. And
Yes.
that's what makes Pete Townsend and Roger Daltrey hated each other.
Yeah.
They only get on now because the other two are dead.
Yeah. There's no one left in the band. Yeah. So actually, the Who is
Yeah.
a band I'm surprised hasn't come up. Possibly could have come up if we had more people on the panel. The Doors, I know for sure between Eric, Gavin, and maybe Marcus, the Doors would have at least come up once. And I didn't mention the Rolling Stones. I'm more of a Beatles fan. I do like the Stones, but I think the only album I have for them is Exile on Main Street, and I think it's a
Well, that's a
71.
good one.
I think it's 71, 72, is it?
Yeah, I think Sticky Fingers did Exile. So they did
Yeah,
Sticky Fingers and then they had to go to France because they were tax exiles. But
Yeah,
Sticky Fingers to me is the greatest rock and roll album ever recorded. It's
yeah.
just amazing from top to bottom.
Sad to say, I don't think I've ever heard it the whole way through. Isn't that bad? So
Oh,
I,
it's
I have a lot of homework
you'll be.
after today.
But the great thing
Oh,
about
yeah.
music is you're always discovering something new. There's always something new to discover. Like, I've started dipping my toes into krautrock. I knew Can and I knew Kraftwerk, and but I found this band called Ashra Temple, and I've never heard them. And I put it on the other day, and it was just like, this is astonishing. So there's always new stuff to find, and the great thing about being music collectors or music fans or a podcast like this is, your music that's old to you is new to someone else, and that's the great thing about it. So just keep sharing it, and
It never
you'll
stops.
always find something new.
It never
No,
stops.
whenever. It's a
And
rabbit hole that goes down and down. There's no bottom to it.
there is not. It's endless. It's endless. And the main thing is that you're enjoying the journey. Like earlier on today, I was actually listening to some of that Jeff Beck stuff from the 1970s. Blow by Blow and Wired and all that sort of stuff. And it's unbelievable stuff. But like I bought that box set could be a year ago now, and it's just been sitting there. I listened to it once or twice, but I didn't get the chance to really dive deep into it. And I was listening to Blow by Blow today, and I just, as soon as I got to the end, I had to go back to the start. And that happened like three times. And
Yeah.
that's when you
Yeah.
know, right, this is one of the albums that's going to be in my top 50 or top 20, it's getting into that level. So yeah, it's great. It's
Yeah,
great.
the one I want to get my hands on by Jeff Beck is Beck, Bogart, and Appice.
Yes.
With
Yes.
his super band with the rhythm section from Cactus.
Yeah.
Stevie Wonder actually wrote Superstition for him and then decided to keep it for himself.
Really?
But
Okay.
they
Yeah.
record it anyway. It's great, yeah.
Yeah.
He wrote it for Jeff Beck and then he went, you know what? No, too good to give this away.
There you go. Yeah.
But
Good one.
that's a
That's
great
a good one.
album. And yeah, I mean, Cactus was another one I could have brought up. Vanilla Fudge. There's
Yeah.
so many good bands.
Buffalo
Jefferson
Springfield.
Airplane. Yeah,
Buffalo Springfield, yeah.
yeah.
Procol Harum, yeah.
The one band I the one band I don't get from the '60s, and I can't get my head around it, is the Grateful Dead.
No, I'm not
Just
a
a bunch of
deadhead.
fat hippies.
Not a deadhead at all now, to be
Yeah,
honest. Yeah.
I remember Keith Richards telling a joke. He said, "What did Grateful Dead fans say when they run out of acid? God, what the hell is that horrible noise?"
Yeah. Yeah. They've got the Grateful Dead live version on in the background. It's like, oh my God, what are we listening to?
Yeah, no, I just no, it doesn't work for me. But
Yeah,
there's so many. Again, I would always say the '70s is the best decade for music, but
yeah,
the later part of the '60s is the foundation for all of that.
yeah, yeah. So
And I just think if you asked me to pick three albums or five albums in the '70s, impossible.
this is going to be tough because we're going to do the 70s next week, hopefully, or maybe it might be 2 weeks again. We get everyone on, but this is going to be very, very hard. Like for the 60s, right? I have a stack of 60s records here or CDs here, and like, I had whatever. I've a few more there behind me, the Doors and bits and pieces, but like that's it. But if I was to get my 70, I think 50, 60% of my collection is from the 70s.
Yeah, I would say around that. I'm doing this set of reels for the TikTok thing, going through albums of the '70s, and every single year I've had to split it into three different reels because
Yeah,
there's so much of it,
so much. But the
particularly in the
golden
early
golden
'70s.
generation, golden generation for
Yeah,
music. It really was.
and I would say it might not be the same exposure now, but because there's no hit singles and there's no money in it, there is so much good music being made now. You just have to dig for it. You're not going to hear it on the radio. You're not going to walk into a record store and hear it. And it's just the word of mouth has become currency. Hey, check this out. Have you heard this? And but there's so much good music. I'm not comparing it to the '70s. Obviously, they'll never reach the heights of Sabbath or Zeppelin or any of those bands. But there is great music being put out. I think Gavin did a band the other day from Canada. His reaction to it, I can't recall their name now. I'd never
Yeah,
heard of them, but I checked
ever
the album out and it was fantastic.
even note or Evernote, or something. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
So
Really,
there's
really
still
good.
great music being made. It's harder to find it.
Yeah, it is harder to find it, but I always look back to like say Ireland in the 1970s, And like, I don't know, were you out collecting records in the 1970s? But I'm assuming that it was slim pickings.
I, I, I was I was 10 in 1980, so I started buying records around
Right.
1984 or 5.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. So,
And Virgin Megastore opened, it was like a gift. And then I started finding things like the Sound Cellar and Freeboard.
yeah,
The things about those stores was there was one in Temple Bar called Borderline Records.
yeah,
I go in and the guy'd say, "Have you heard this?" That's the first time I ever heard the MC5 or Captain Beefheart,
yeah,
and stuff like that. And you're just kind of going, "What is this?" So I think we've kind of returned to that where don't want to say older because it makes me sound ancient, but people who've been listening to music for a long time, like you or me, are introducing other people to it,
yeah. I think so.
and I think that's the gift of music. Like, if anyone comes in here, I'm just saying, pick out whatever you want, but pick out something you haven't heard before and we'll put it on.
Yeah, for sure.
Don't pick out something you know. Pick out something just on the strength of an album cover. Let's put it on and see what it is.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Right.
Great stuff. Well, listen, thanks for your time, Bobo. And of course,
No problem.
You got the vinyl vault there on YouTube, Bobo's Vinyl Vault.
Yeah.
You're pumping out the videos there.
Thanks so
So
much.
everybody, be sure to jump over to Bobo's channel, give him a subscribe and a like, and comment on some of his videos there. He's doing great work over there. And of course, look at that collection behind you. Absolutely beautiful. How many records have you
Thank
got
you.
now in the vault at this moment in time?
Uh, I counted yesterday. I looked at because I cataloged them about 2019,
Wow. Wow. That is ridiculous. Yeah.
and
Unbelievable.
it's right across the board. I mean, there's a lot of rock music, but there's other stuff in there as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there's
Great.
endless combinations of things I can do. I'm doing the 70s at the moment, and that's great fun. But
Yeah.
yeah, we'll see where we go from that. I'll figure out something. But
Brilliant.
the 70s will be the next one for us to do. 3 albums from the 70s. That's going to be a tough one.
That's going to be tough. We'll have to get the thinking caps on and get the vinyl and the CDs out and the headphones on for that one. So yeah, be sure to join in next week for the 1970s review. Let us know in the comments below what your favorite albums of the 1960s are. If you like the video, stick a like on it, and if you could also subscribe to my channel wall again and Bobo's channel, Bobo's Vinyl Vault, and we will talk to you in the next one. Bye for now.
See you later on, guys. Thanks.